So, good morning folks, it's Matt O'Donnell from iX5 Pest Control, based in Northampton, covering Northamptonshire and surrounding areas for all your pest control needs. So we're on site today at a property in Silverstone. We've just come out to have a look at the property, give a bit of advice on proofing following a bit of mouse activity in the garage here. So whilst we're here, we've spotted a number of issues that we will give advice on proofing on. So the first one is air bricks. These are a common source of rodent ingress into buildings. Mice particularly can squeeze through a lot of air bricks. Rats will chew through the way as well. So rodents do get through air bricks in properties. So we'll just take a look at this air brick. So just hopping down here. Now these air bricks are currently sound, so very low risk of any mouse ingress or rat ingress, although as I say they can be chewed through. Particularly if there's shrubbery in front of them, things like that, and there's rodent activity in the vicinity. These are weak points in buildings. Okay, so a couple of things you can do if you've got air bricks in your property. So a couple of solutions we offer, depending on the location and various other factors. We have stainless steel mesh that basically you can cut to size and literally just pop over, which still lets the air brick breathe. Alternatively, you can buy products like this online as well, purpose designed for covering over air bricks, and these are not expensive bits of kit, but as you can see, they simply sit over the air brick and still allow the air brick to breathe. Okay, so we've just opened up the meter cabinets here, folks, and these are often a common source of ingress for mouse activity. As you can see, what happens here, mice can get up inside into the meter cabinets, so coming up these gaps here. Once they're in there, nice sheltered area for them, and sometimes we'll find evidence of mouse activity in these, chewed seeds, things like that, grain and stuff. Mice do hoard food, but also usually where the cables go through into the property, this one is actually pretty good, but usually or very often you will find holes right through into the wall cavity where mice particularly can get into the building. So usually we would proof over these entrance points, either with mesh, with silicone sealant or weather sealant, something like that, just to stop mice getting into the cabinet in the first place. Okay, so just having a look at the rest of the proofing and other recommendations around the property here, folks. As you can see, very often we see this, people let bushes grow up against buildings, and particularly climbing plants. So very often we'll come out to properties where they're climbing plants up to gutter line, up to eaves level. This provides perfect access for mice and other pests to get into properties. What we generally recommend is any plants, any shrubbery, climbing plants keep them away from the gutter line, at least a couple of feet down, and bushes, shrubs, things like that, where you can. If you're doing any planting on site yourself, keep them away from the property. Have at least a 30 centimetre or so gap along in front of the property wall, or once shrubs and plants are in, at least try and keep them trimmed back. As you can see, we've got an air brick just down here, which is gradually getting covered over by the shrub here. Once they start getting covered over, it makes them a perfect target for rodents to sit there and chew their way in. So always recommend keep shrubs and plants away from buildings wherever you can. Okay, so carrying on looking at proofing around this property, folks. As you'll see here, the garage door is a common point of access for rodents. So we've got the pencil in there. If you can get your fingers in, if you can get a pencil in a hole, pretty much a mouse is going to get in there. So this is perfect access. You've probably got about 20 millimeters there, 2 centimeters. So what we would recommend, have a look at your garage doors, because mice particularly very often get into garages this way. And there are various solutions you can do. So we'll have a look at a solution here on another door. Okay. So this door has actually been proofed here, folks. So the rubber strip, garage door comes down, closes up against the rubber bumper strip there. And as you can see, as long as it's fitting snugly up against the edges here, which this is, up against the metal, that should stop mice getting in. So there are various other things you can do. You can attach rubber strips to the door itself, but this is a great solution. So we're just in the back garden of this property, folks, having a look, and we know how popular decking is these days. It seems almost every property we go to has decking in the back garden. Where people have decking and they're feeding the birds, or neighbours are feeding the birds, there are compost heaps nearby, all sorts of other food sources, decking is perfect harbourage for rodents. Okay, rats particularly will live under decking, especially if there's a food source nearby, as I say. So if you're feeding birds in the garden, rats love decking. Easy access, as you can see, just down the side here, straight under the decking. Rats will burrow under decking around areas they can dig as well. In the corner here, lovely little hole. And once they get under there, that's their domain. Nobody else knows what's going on under there. And very often we get called out to properties where there is rat activity under decking, and you find it's quite heavy, quite ingrained, because rats will burrow in underneath the decking. As I say, if there's a food source and water source nearby particularly, that encourages them. We don't recommend decking, but if you are having decking, we recommend at least leave a few areas where it can be lifted quite easily, just so you can undertake regular checks under there. Or if need be, we can get bait under there or deal with any rodent infestations.